The movie begins with Ellie lying on the ground, relaxing and enjoying the moment. After a while, she picks a ripe apple for a snack and takes a stroll through the woods, admiring the natural beauty. Later, she returns home for lunch with her husband, Miko, and they casually discuss groceries. That night, they share an intimate moment before bed. The next morning, Ellie frees a trapped fly while smelling a flower. She looks at herself in the mirror, and Miko gives her a kiss. Over breakfast, Miko mentions that his friend Olavi is coming to visit. When Miko leaves for the mainland, Ellie busies herself with cleaning and gathering wildflowers. The following morning, Miko meets Olavi and brings him home. During the drive, they discuss their summer plans. When they arrive, Ellie recognizes Olavi, who knows her parents and visited them years ago. They exchange a few words as Miko brings in the luggage. At dinner, Miko asked Olavi about his personal life and encouraged him to pursue a relationship with Liina. He went on to share his thoughts on the kinds of people they should be dating. When Miko stepped away for a moment, Olavi asked Ellie about her father. She shared that he had passed away, and Olavi reminisced about how close they had been. Ellie mentioned that her father used to talk about him often. As their conversation continued, Miko returned with a jacket for Olavi and handed him an old photograph of the two of them. Later that night, Olavi bid them goodnight and went to the room prepared for him. After finishing her tasks, Ellie told Miko they should go to bed, and he went to get ready. During the night, Ellie woke to some strange noises. She sat up in bed, listening carefully, but eventually, everything went silent again. The next day, Miko and Olavi decided to go swimming. As they swam, they talked about Olavi's recent affair with a married woman. Miko shared some of his own experiences from married life. As they continued chatting, a jet flew overhead, and Miko mentioned how much he hated the sound of jets. Afterward, they made their way back home through the woods. Once home, Miko put on a vinyl record for Olavi and suggested Ellie join in. He pulled her into a dance, but soon, Miko and Olavi were the ones having fun, with Ellie standing by, smiling as she watched them. Early the next morning, Ellie went out for a swim. When she returned, Miko was getting ready to leave. Sensing her unease, he reassured her that Olavi would leave soon. Later, as Ellie was bringing in the laundry, Olavi overheard a conversation about the priest leaving town and saw her from the window as she gathered the clothes. As Ellie prepared dinner, Olavi came into the kitchen to chat. He asked her several questions, but her replies were brief. When he inquired if she still played the cello, she didn't respond at all. Later on, while Ellie was cleaning a chair, Olavi suggested they go for a walk. The two headed to the coast, where Ellie asked him about his thesis. Olavi explained his work, and the conversation shifted to his relationships. He admitted that he had just ended one recently. Ellie in turn shared her thoughts on love, saying that it's essential to stay connected with someone. As they walked, they noticed some cows grazing nearby and spent a bit of time with the animals. On their way back, they ran into Miko, who was returning from work. He asked what they were up to, and Olavi explained that Ellie had been showing him around. Miko then mentioned inviting Liina over for a visit and suggested they do it soon. That night, Olavi cooked dinner for Ellie and Miko, but the mashed potatoes he made were overly salted. Trying to be polite, Miko complimented the presentation, but couldn't help laughing at how bad the taste was. The three of them shared a light-hearted moment, laughing at Olavi's failed attempt at cooking. Before heading to bed, Ellie was cleaning her face when Miko came up behind her and started kissing her. She stepped away and headed toward the closet, but Miko followed her there. They kissed, and things escalated, leading to an intimate moment in bed. Meanwhile, Olavi sat in the other room, sipping tea and quietly listening to the sounds coming from their bedroom. The next morning, Ellie goes for another early swim, this time with their dog. Upon her return, she sees Olavi quietly enjoying the peace while making notes in his notebook. Ellie suggests he attend her husband's sermon at the church. They both go to the church and listen to Miko's sermon. After the service, Miko bids Ellie farewell, as he needs to leave for a few days. While Ellie talks to Liina outside the church, Olavi walks Miko to his car. Miko expresses his belief that Liina could be a good match for Olavi, and the two men discuss this on the way to Miko's car. Olavi returns to Ellie and Liina, and they agree to meet later. On the way home, Olavi asks Ellie about Liina, sparking a conversation about relationships, what keeps people together, and what makes them drift apart. Olavi tries to amuse Ellie with jokes, hinting that finding both rationality and love in one person is the ideal. Back at home, Ellie goes into the kitchen, feeling a bit thirsty. She offers Olavi a glass of water. He accepts, grabbing an apple and finishing the water she gave him. As he eats the apple and empties the glasses, there's a brief moment of tension between them, but Ellie decides to step out of the kitchen. That evening, the two have a quiet picnic by the lake, drinking alcohol and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. As it gets dark, they return to the house. Olavi hands Ellie her coat, and they wish each other good night. Ellie retreats to her bedroom, lying in bed, reflecting on the day and her walk with Olavi. The next morning, Ellie goes for another swim at the lake. Afterward, she returns home and takes a moment to observe a grasshopper. Later, she and Olavi go fishing, and during their outing, Olavi asks her if she's truly happy in her marriage to Mikko. Ellie thinks for a moment and explains that she believes she is, sharing her thoughts on how she came to that conclusion. She admits to having fantasies about someone else, but has never acted on them, choosing to stay. Olavi confides that they have more in common than she realizes. When she asks if he is happy, Olavi says he is. Back at the house, Olavi enters Ellie's bedroom and asks if he can come in. He walks closer, and soon after, they become physically intimate. Shortly after, guests from the church arrive, and Ellie quickly gets dressed before joining them. The group brings food and drinks, listens to music, and shares wine. As the evening progresses, they move outside, playfully wrestling and laughing together. One of the guests asks Ellie to prepare the sauna. She agrees and goes to get it ready. After finishing, she meets Lena in the woods and lets her know the sauna is ready. The men offer Ellie a steam bath, but she refuses, feeling uncomfortable with Olavi's obvious attraction to Lena. She quickly retreats to her bedroom. When she returns outside, the guests, including Olavi, leave the house. Ellie is left alone. The next morning, Olavi returns and finds Ellie chopping wood. He assumes she's upset with him, but Ellie doesn't confirm this. Instead, she invites him to join her for a swim at the lake. Ellie undresses in front of Olavi, who watches her intently. He follows suit, and they both enter the water. They swim together, and when Ellie returns to the shore, Olavi follows her closely behind. On their way back home, Ellie takes Olavi's hand, signaling her desire to spend some quiet time with him in the forest. As they pause, they hear loud music coming from Ellie's house. Mikko has returned from his business trip. Mikko enthusiastically talks about the event he attended and shares thoughts about his purpose and his future with his family. That evening, Mikko and Ellie share an intimate moment, unaware that Olavi is watching them from the doorway. After a while, Olavi retreats to his room, where he can still hear Ellie's moans echoing through the house. The next morning, Mikko asks Olavi about his plans for the day. When Mikko leaves for work, Ellie suggests going for a walk together, but Olavi declines. Feeling hurt by his refusal, Ellie withdraws, while Ellie spends the day by the lake, seeking solace in nature. Later, Ellie prepares dinner and goes to check on Olavi in his room, but he isn't there. She then heads upstairs and immerses herself in playing the cello, losing herself in the music to relax. That evening, during a walk with her dog, Ellie runs into Olavi, who seems distant and unsettled. He confesses that he feels jealous of her relationship with Mikko. Before Ellie married Mikko, she and Olavi had been in a romantic relationship. Ellie opens up to Olavi, explaining how she met her husband. She reveals that she couldn't wait for Olavi forever, and eventually chose to find happiness with someone else. Later, Ellie reflects on their conversation and, to clear her mind, decides to go for a morning swim. She then suggests an outing with Olavi, and the two decide to go sailing. They find a beautiful spot by the lake for a picnic and spend quiet time together. As the day progresses, their connection deepens and they become physically intimate. Afterward, Ellie returns home, where Mikko greets them. Needing time to process her emotions, Ellie retreats to her bedroom while Mikko and Olavi chat on the veranda. The two men talk about Mikko's life before he married Ellie, exchanging stories and memories. Ellie came to join them and they drank together. When Mikko leaves, Ellie apologizes, saying she can't stop Mikko coming to her, but he thinks she can, but she doesn't want to. While Ellie is washing dishes, Mikko attempts to kiss her from behind. Startled and upset, Ellie shouts at him, telling him not to touch her, and runs out to the lake for a swim. After cooling off, she returns and apologizes to Mikko for her outburst. But then, she goes to Olavi and kisses him. Mikko, upstairs, hears the floor creaking from below. The next morning, Mikko walks into the room and finds Ellie and Olavi asleep together. Ellie wakes up, quietly goes to wash her face, and then returns to lie down next to Mikko. In the stillness, she asks for his forgiveness. Mikko replies that he understands her. Later, Olavi approaches Mikko, telling him that he's leaving and asking for forgiveness. Mikko, without much emotion, responds with, "Forgive you for what?" as if trying to brush the matter aside. After breakfast, Mikko takes out his shotgun and announces he's going hunting. At one point, he points the gun at Olavi's head, asking if he should pull the trigger. The tension is palpable, but no one says a word. Olavi, though, is prepared to face the consequences. Instead, Mikko wipes away a tear and suggests they go duck hunting together. Later, they all drive to the ferry to see Olavi off. Before boarding, Olavi pleads with Ellie to leave with him and go back to the mainland, offering her another chance. Ellie, however, chooses to stay with Mikko. On the way home, the couple stops in the woods for Mikko to hunt ducks. That night, they cuddle, trying to heal the rift caused by Olavi's presence. The next day, they sit down to talk about their relationship. Mikko expresses his desire for Ellie to be free and happy, and he accepts her for who she is. He tells her he wants their relationship to be genuine and sincere. Ellie admits that she's afraid to be completely honest with him. In the evening, they spend time together, both committed to giving their marriage another chance. Ellie notices Mikko has returned home and goes downstairs to meet him. Standing by the car, Mikko agrees to Ellie's suggestion that they go fishing. The film ends with the couple peacefully fishing on the lake, a quiet moment that hints at the possibility of a fresh start in their relationship. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.